welcome back to the Don and Gino Real Estate and Finance Show right here in your hometown station, AM 1220 KHTS.
And remember, our goal is always to guide you to personal and financial wellness.
Well, you're back with Don Gatling, Gino Fronti for every Saturday's Don and Gino Real Estate and Finance Show. Yep, for 7 years now and over 2,000 YouTube videos later, we're still here. And with the whole goal since we started this show, remember, 7 years ago was to guide you to personal financial wellness and be a good resource for you, because at the time we started this show, everybody was going through hardship. And if it wasn't you, it was somebody you knew. And we basically started the show and said there is hope, there is direction, there's options, and that's what we started the show. Now what's nice is we're talking about how healthy the real estate market is, how healthy the job market is, how healthy hopefully you are, and where the market's going. And I can tell you we're going to talk about where the market is, because it's low on inventory. We're some of the lowest inventory because we did not have homes being built for almost 10 years. And the home builders are not catching up. So therefore, we don't have enough inventory, and we have a lot of pent-up buyers, especially you millennials. Thank you for finally leaving your parents' home and deciding to get your own. So now we're talking with Randy Plaice and Associates, who's very successful right now, one of the most successful teams in Santa Cruz, about helping sellers sell their home faster and for more money, and how to get buyers into homes that they didn't think they can get into. So we're going to break it down in two segments. What do we want to start with, Randy?
Whatever you guys want.
All right. Well, I think you just touched on inventory, Don. So we should talk a little bit about inventory, why we have a lack of inventory, what that means, and why it's a great time for a seller. I mean, one of the things that's happening in this market is that sellers don't sell because they don't know where they're going to go. Mm-hmm. And you could speak more to that, but I think that that's one of the things that's a challenge with sellers is two things. When we talked about this, like 2 years ago when I was calling it trapped.
Yeah.
And it's because we've put a lot of people in very, very, very low interest rate homes, things in the low threes. Mm-hmm. And if they now if they upgrade to a bigger home, not only are they going to move to a bigger, more expensive home with a potentially less tax deduction now these days with tax reform, but at the same time, they're also going to be dealing with rates in the mid fours, let's talk about, versus the low threes.
But they are taking their equity out and putting in another home, though.
So in order to offset some of those tax repercussions of the new tax plan, free capital gains money is probably my favorite tool to take advantage of. So if you've lived in your personal residence for a couple of years, you can most likely, speak to your CPA, get $250,000 or $500,000 if you're married exemption on your capital gains. I can't think of any way, any money you can earn that you can get $250,000 to $500,000 in free tax-free money. It just can't happen.
And then you can do it again. And do it again.
Over and over again. So I think that's probably something we need to make sure to educate our sellers on. But you're hearing them live and direct, and tell me what their fears are. Why are sellers afraid to sell, Randy?
Well, I think you touched on it. I think the interest rate adjustment is definitely a part of it. Also, I think that the media has been very focused on the housing market being so tight, inventory so tight. Everybody knows the inventory is tight, right? Your neighbors know it. Everybody knows it. So what it's done is it's create this psychological fear that something's going on, and they don't necessarily know what that something is per se, and it makes them withdraw and sort of turtle up a little bit. And I think that's part of it. In time, when they start seeing their neighbors doing it and they have a favorable outcome, they'll start to open up a little bit more. Mm-hmm. So I think a lot of people are in this retracted place. Number one, because of just the housing conversation about inventory. Number two, obviously the political climate. All sorts of things are causing people to start feeling, you know what, I'm not sure if this is a good time. I don't know, what to believe. I don't know where to believe it from. And obviously you guys are transparent. I am too. So I'll be very honest about everything that I see. But I think that's part of it. I think there's a big psychological piece. Also, obviously millennials are now becoming a big part of that range that we're looking at to find first-time home buyers, and they are slower to make action, slower to take the moves in order to get home ownership. So that's a part of it as well. So I think really just understanding the value of home ownership, understanding the long-term benefit financially and just for your family and for your future, so you can diversify and have passive income flow and other things like that. I think that's important. So I think a lot of it comes down to just education, trust and education. Really knowing the information, knowing current information like what you guys put out there and what I try to put out there too, but also trusting the source and trusting that the people who are telling you that, whether it's you guys, whether it's me, whether it's all three of us, they're telling you stuff from a place of really trying to contribute versus trying to make something or trying to work some angle to try to get you into a deal.
And before we go off of that, because I know you have a lot of content you put together just as we have, how can they get to that? because you have a great content where you do nice videos and they can learn a lot from you and get to know Randy a little bit better.
Sure. Well, our website's randyplaiceandassociates.com. Our blog's on there. We have videos on there as well.
Spell Plaice.
Plaice, Plaice.
Just because I know there'll be Place going, oh, I can't find
there.
them. I think it pops up pretty much anyways, by the way. I just pulled it up, and it still pops up.
We do have a lot of stuff, too. Also, we have a dedicated YouTube channel, so if you just search Randy Plaice, Plaice, you'll find all that stuff, too.
Cool.
There's a link to that from our website as well. So
It's just nice that you can educate people, and they're like, well, who is this guy, and why should I work with him? It's nice when you can actually, I mean, we have it sometimes. Believe it or not, we think nobody listens to the show, but they're like, I hear you guys all the time on the radio. It gives you a little bit of credibility, and you have to be transparent when you're on the radio, and when you're putting out stuff on YouTube or whatever, it makes you be transparent because you can't hide. You can't be like, I didn't say that, I didn't know that. It's right there, because we'll put out our projections and stuff, and we'll bring them up the next year. Say, okay, we said that, we just brought it up last week. They said that the average sale price nationally was going to be 4.8%. We're like, BS. We said it's going to be over 6%. And we'll bring it back and see if we were right. And we think that LA is going to be over 7%.
Yep.
Guess what? We got to bring it back, and we were right.
Yeah, it's no, it's good. It does hold you accountable. You also have to have a certain level of trust in yourself and your research, right? Because you can't just go out and predict. Yeah, I guess you can, but this makes you accountable, right? You have to be accountable to what you're saying. You have to be accountable to your area, and
believe it.
And you do have to believe it, but you have to study.
I think what you're saying is really important, because a lot of people are doing more and more research online, right? They're going on Zillow and getting Zestimates, and they're doing all these things. Well, can you trust that? Well, we've already proven the Zestimates are off by
20% at
by
times.
a significant amount.
Yeah.
Of money,
Or it could be
right?
spot on, right? The problem is
of
that
course
the level of deviation is just too big.
Right, and you don't want to necessarily just take things at face value. We've learned that more than ever. Take it from multiple perspectives. Hear it from multiple people that you trust. Don't just take it from one single source. Multiple source it, And I think that's partially one thing that I'm doing by putting out the content like you touched on. It's just giving you another vehicle to learn more about stuff. There's also a home value tool on my site as well, so you can take that and compare it to his estimate. Are either one of them going to be spot on accurate? No, because it's sight unseen. Unless it's just a cookie cutter, nothing special, nothing detracting home. No, it's not going to be spot on. There's going to be some deviation.
It's what do they say about averages, right? They had taken, I can't remember what company it was that, or what military it was that took 12 pilots, and they said, we're going to build a plane with an average cockpit so they could all be the same. Well, none of the 12 pilots fit in. So averages aren't always the best way to, because it just...
Well, we say that all the time. No, one report is not a trend.
Yeah, so averages are not always the best way to evaluate things. It takes specialists. It takes people that are
Well, let's hit on
in the
that,
market.
because that's key right now, I think, for sellers, because sellers can also get confused. They're hearing about how the market's hot, how there's no inventory, therefore I can sell it for whatever I want.
Right.
But
Or even worse, I'll sell it myself.
Yeah, even worse. Without doubt, we've proven that you lose 9% to save 6%. So don't do that. Plus, then you become your own real estate agent with no protection. So please,
Lots of liability in that.
Yeah,
so don't do that.
So don't do that. But also, if you wanted to figure out how to sell your home or how to sell it for most, a lot of people say, feel that, I'll just put it for the highest price. What was the last one sold? It sold for $900. I'm going to put $950 and see what I get. So we try to educate them, as you, I'm sure. Well, is your house really worth that, one? Because you've been in the other houses. Two, you know whether their upgrades are worth. And three, if you overprice it, you actually drive away more buyers.
Sure, and then it stays on the market longer, which ultimately shows some weakness, which ultimately leads to lower offers. So it costs you money. So 100%, I think it's important from out of the gate, you're honest, you have a real conversation. Have we lost listings because we were honest and said, okay, we think it should be priced right around here, and then the next guy goes in and prices it
They'll
50,
tell them what they want to
50
hear just to get the listing sometimes.
Sure, and then they do, and then what happens is traditionally it starts to get lowered, and then you have price reduction, and then all of a sudden they hit something. Or it sits forever, or worse, they get so frustrated by the process, they pull it off the market altogether and say, okay, you know what, I'm not doing this right now.
Lost a brilliant opportunity.
I'm done. And they have a bad taste in their mouth about realtors. They have a bad taste in their mouth about the market, and then they buy into all the other, psychological stuff that's going on.
So
about the
if you
market.
price it correctly, you can actually create a frenzy that actually raises the price of it.
Sure. I'll tell you, I just sold a house myself, one of my own personal properties. Number one, because I know the values are really high right now because of inventory and supply and demand. And I've taken my own advice on this. I priced it on the lower side. I wasn't going there trying to price it extremely high because I know, of course, I want to make as much money as humanly possible. Of course, this is feeding my family. This is fueling our dreams and our future. But at the same time, I'm not foolish enough to say I'm going to go charge $100,000 what it's worth what I'm going to do is I'm going to charge it a little bit under from where it's worth, and I'm going to generate immediate interest and a feeding frenzy, like you said, multiple offers, and try to drive the price up, which we did. So that's ultimately the strategy.
Good
that's
strategies. That's
Well,
but that's being honest, because you're being, and hopefully you heard that, because a lot of you are going to wait till you get somebody to tell you what you want to hear because you want to make as much money. That's not always the best strategy.
Well, I'm going to jump in there because there's a common misconception that the realtor picks the price or the seller picks the price. That's not true.
The market does.
The market does, right? 100%, right? So ultimately, price is a marketing tool, and if anybody knows about marketing, what you're looking for is to attract eyeballs and interest, and you're never going to do it with a really high price.
All right, good advice. Really good advice. I love it, Randy. So will you stick around for one more? We'll talk about buyers too.
Let's do it.
All right, so we have one more segment. This is great stuff. Hopefully you're sticking around for the Don and Gino Real Estate and Finance Show. Find out more at donandgino.com and stick around for the last segment. It's going to be a doozy.